Okay, so you have already watched the tutorials for EasyBib and know how to set up your account and know how to get to this page that is included with new projects. This is the project for the exam for adolescent literature. We're going to start by creating a new project. I filled in the blanks and I named this what it is so that I can always find it when I come back, and I'm going to create that. Now I'm going to click on this so that everything that I research for this exam will be added to this particular project. Now let's go over to Google. For this exam, you will be writing about adolescent themes. But for my example and for my demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to research something a little bit different than you'll be doing, but still similar. I'm going to type here in the search box. Whereas you will be typing in the word adolescent, I typed in the word senior citizens. So I'm going to be looking for something different. Now let's see what I can find. Okay, I see several articles on this page that I can use to research my information to complete this exam. I'm scrolling through and I'm finding things that have to do with the topic that I typed in. You, of course, will be looking for adolescent themes. I'm looking for themes for senior citizens in this example for you. So let me go down and look for something that looks like it would deal with the themes. Here's literature with aging themes. Let's look at this and just see. Okay, so I clicked on that link, and because I clicked on that link and I looked at this information, it therefore needs to go into my bibliography. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the URL at the top of the page, and I'm going to go over to my EasyBib project that I just started. Remember this EasyBib project that we created, and I'm going to paste that URL in there. And it was indeed a website, so I'm going to cite that and see if EasyBib can find it. It did find it, and so I'm going to complete the citation by clicking Cite. And I'm going to continue. I'm not going to add any more information. If I do have more information, I would fill it in here. I complete the citation. And there you can see where it has been added to my project. Now that I've done that and I've made sure that I've cited the article, let's go back and take a look at it. What I want to do is scroll through this article and see if it has anything to do with themes that apply to senior citizens. As I scrolled through this article, I didn't see much other than an introduction to literature itself. But as I scrolled all the way through the article, I found a reference to this particular publication that has to do with a person who is aging and dealing with the physical aspects of aging. And that interests me. So I'm going to hold this right here and I'm going to open up a new window. And I had copied and pasted that title and I put it into Google and came up with some resources for that. Now I don't have to read the entire novel unless I get excited, but I do need to know something about this novel and how it relates to that theme of aging physically. So since I don't have to read the entire novel, I'm going to go to SparkNotes, which happens to be one of my favorite resources for exploring literature and making a decision later whether or not I want to invest the time to read the whole book. Let's go here. And remember, since I opened this in SparkNotes, that means that I need to copy that URL. I'm going to go back over to EasyBib and I'm going to cite it immediately. Before I even read anything, I do that, just to make sure that I have covered myself and I am not going to be cited for plagiarism. You will never, ever see me cited for plagiarism because I will make sure I add everything. Okay, so I'm going to add an article title because we're looking at Everyman. So I'm just going to put that down, and it's by Philip Roth. And that's all I'm going to add, and I'm going to complete the citation. And that is going to add that to our little list. You see that? We now have this one, the symposium that we got. That took me to Philip Roth to Everyman. And now I'm going to look at SparkNotes and find out what theme is involved with Everyman because it interested me. So I clicked on that SparkNotes page. That takes me to Everyman. And I look over this, and I can do a plot overview and take a look at that, see what's there. And look what I can find. Themes! So I'm going to look at what the theme of this is. And the theme is the inescapability of death. It's a novel about death. It is about the life leading up to one specific death. And it is about the idea of death as something terrible that everybody must experience. All right, so I'm going to put this theme down on my document that I'm preparing for my exam. Let's open a Word document and start that. So I started my exam. I have my name, adolescent literature, the theme exam, the date, and when it's all through, of course, I will highlight everything. I will go up to review, and I will get the word count, and I will fill that in and make sure that I do that before I submit this. So I have chosen for my first theme, the inevitability of death. And I just wrote in just my own words, a common theme in literature about aging protagonists involves the awareness of death's door. Okay, so now I'm going to go and get a little bit more information to define this theme. So I'm going to copy this, and back I go to Google. So when I went back to Google, I typed in and asked Google to literally help me define the theme of the inevitability of death. And as you can see, look at all these things that come up. Now, eNotes is not a good site, so we're not going to go there. We're going to make sure that we go to a credible site. And some of this stuff doesn't really help me with that. So I'm going to find one of these definitions of the inevitability of death, and I'm going to be right back with that. After looking around Google and scrolling down a little bit, I came upon something that I think is going to be relevant for my answer to the question, what does inevitability of death mean? And it is this little article right here, accepting my mortality. That looks like a really good article to find a working definition of the inevitability of death. And what's the very first thing I do? That's right, I copy that URL, I go over to EasyBib, and before I ever even look at it, I cite it. Found it. Continue. I'm not going to add anything to it. Complete the citation. And now that added that to my lovely list. Now I can go and look at the article and find a good definition, which I'm going to quote from this article, and I'm going to give the article credit. I've decided that this statement most closely defines what I mean by this theme. And I'm going to put and give credit to that so that I'm not copying and pasting. Now, if I take that quote out of that article and just paste it into my Word document, it's going to show up in that font color with all that underlining. So that's why I open a notepad and I'm going to paste it in there. And that way, when I copy it from the notepad and paste it into my Word document, it's not going to have all that formatting. See how pretty that looks? The inevitability of death is the theme. A common theme in literature about aging protagonists involves the awareness of death's door. According to dyingwell.org, the inevitability of death is best described as, and there I've given them complete credit for this definition, which took me a little while to find. Next, I'm going to do a short example of the inevitability of death, and I'm going to use this everyman that we've just been looking at. Okay, so I went ahead and finished up my answer. And this is my first of 5. Remember, you're going to be doing 5. So I have the theme, the inevitability of death, and I've already gone over that. The example that I used was Everyman by Philip Roth, and I did not read the novel, but I did read the Spark Notes, and I summarized it in my own words, but I did give credit to Script Notes as where my information came from. If I used a movie, then I would quote the movie. If I read something else, I would quote that. But it's important that I show the reader where my information is coming from, because I don't know anything in and of myself. I need to research and find the answers. So I wrote in my own words about this man who is very stoic. His idea of life is hold your ground and take it as it comes. So he's not surfing his way through life, he's enduring life. And then the last part of my answer is my perspective. And I wrote, this theme interests me because it is so far from the world of my life. My father was from Minnesota and looked at life as a seasonal adventure. He lived until his death for travel and new horizons, even when he was sick, and he was really, really sick. My dad embraced humor and saw the challenges of life through a smile. My mother was and will always be a Texan. You can't get more Texan than my mother. West Texas is no man's land of brutal weather and prairies. My mother knew that she, like all the rest of our clan, would up and die one day, so why worry about it? That's all I've ever known of life, and my motto, unlike every man's, is folks are going to forget you 10 minutes after you die, so that's all that really matters is the love you give and the truth you tell. So now I have completed item number 1, and let's look over at that EasyBib at this point. My EasyBib at this point has these citations. When I'm completed with all of the answers to my questions, and I found all the themes, and I've done all my work, and I've finished everything, then I'm going to select all. And now, and this is important, I'm going to export to a Word doc, because I know it's going to come out correctly if it comes out that way. So I clicked it down in the tray, and Word is going to come up, and there it is. See, it's all beautifully formatted. I simply copy that. I go back to the Word document that I've been working on, and at the end of this, there's where I got my information. So you can see I've done a theme, an example, my perspective, and I've shown where I got my information for each one of the questions that I complete. Now, it's okay if you do the works cited at the end with all of it, as long as it's formatted correctly. Personally, if I was taking this exam, I would have the citations after each answer. And that's how you're going to do this. Only the difference is you're going to be doing this with adolescents rather than with senior citizens. That concludes this tutorial on how to complete the final exam on adolescent literature.